I'm back with the latest as far as Prime Minister Modi's all-important message on COVID-19 situation around the country is concerned. Remember how the Prime Minister, of course, while interacting with chief ministers of northeastern states, once again emphasized on what needs to be done, how possibly a third wave can be avoided, and what really is the need of the hour. In the past few days also, we've been seeing how the Prime Minister has been holding several of such meetings, including meetings on supply of oxygen as well across the country. We have Dr. Sanjeev Bagai also joining us on the phone line. Thank you, Dr. Bagai, for taking out your time and speaking to us. Prime Minister Modi, just a short while back, interacted with chief ministers of northeastern states. Some of those states have been increasingly reporting more and more cases on a daily basis. So that's a concern there because it's becoming increasingly difficult, Dr. Bagai, to now identify whether we've completely overcome the second wave or possibly are looking at a third wave right staring at us.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. I think the message is very clear that it's the society's choice whether they want no third wave or just a small little ripple or they want an avalanche. If the behavior is going to be irresponsible, if it's going to be of social parties and gatherings, be it religious, be it social, be it political, or indeed holidays, what we have seen in northern India recently, perhaps we've already invited the third wave. If you very carefully see the pan-India numbers, they're just slightly gradually going and showing an upward trend. This is worrying. I think vaccines are extremely important, so I think we need to push this very aggressively, and the central government is doing it. But in spite of the vaccines, social distancing and masks are the only two barriers to death. If you want to prevent death, this is what we need to do. Even if you are an asymptomatic carrier, even if you are vaccinated, you can still have an impact of long COVID. It is of paramount importance that we safeguard ourselves, safeguard the elderly and the vulnerables. This next 4 to 5 months is what our citizens need to devote as our moral duty towards our country. This is our moral obligation. Do not socialize, do not go out, do not holiday, wear a mask, not even a mask, but a double mask, and get yourself vaccinated, and that too twice.
Absolutely. So on an individual level, a lot of responsibilities that each one of us hold, Dr. Bagai, like you've been saying, wearing our masks, maintaining social distancing is something that we've been emphasizing on since day one. But a lot of places we see none of that being followed. Dr. Bagai, apart from that, we've learned many lessons through the second wave. We learned many lessons as far as, our administrative strength is also concerned and what we really need to work on. What, in your sense, is something that we really need to focus on, given what we've seen, in that hard-hitting third wave, the second wave, I beg your pardon?
Yeah, I think the lessons we learned was that I think overall as a nation, we became a little bit complacent. We put the finger off the pulse, and then the second wave literally hurt us so bad. In almost 40 years of being in medicine, I have never seen such kind of devastation, pain, misery, suffering, and indeed so much of death, and that also in such a short span of time. If this doesn't open our eyes, I really don't know what will. We are bound to see a small surge, maybe in August or September. It is our obligation towards our nation, and I repeat it, it's our obligation towards our nation that we don't let this infection spread. We know that the wave is actually now of Delta. The major surge of the second wave was Delta-oriented, almost 80% Delta-oriented. Worldwide Delta is actually now turning out to be a pandemic within a pandemic. It is much more infectious, it is more transmissible, it has much more indoor transmission itself. The only way you can safeguard is get yourself vaccinated and do not go out unless until it's an acute emergency. We just have to tide this over. We will reach a stage in which we will have a significant portion of society vaccinated. We have to buy time. We have to bid our time. This is not a time to party, not a time to holiday. Please defend the society. Protect your neighbors, only then you will be protected.
Dr. Bagai, now, internationally also, we've seen how some of those sporting events have also turned out to be super spreaders. And I'm going to quickly thank you on that front. We have Dr. Jayalal also joining us on the phone line. Dr. Jayalal, we had Dr. Bagai speaking to us and, of course, emphasizing on what the need of the hour is and how we must not forget the basics. Basics like wearing our masks, maintaining social distancing. And I was meaning to, ask you how we've seen in several other countries where Delta variant is also becoming a huge concern at this point in time. And those nations, having fairly vaccinated their population, are also facing challenges. Be it several super spreader events like the Euro 2020, etc. Now, in India, what do we do then? What do we do to make sure that despite vaccination, more is done to make sure that we don't see what we saw in the second wave?
Yeah, I mean, as you rightly said, and it is the need of the hour that we are adopting to the appropriate COVID-appropriate behaviors at any cost, that we cannot let our guard and come out in open and like the pilgrimage or the tourist spot visit, like a youth sports event which is happening in a foreign countries or the festivals which is happening in the country. So this we are repeatedly taking an awareness among the government and the public. I'm so thankful to Honorable Prime Minister Ji. In any meeting, everywhere, he is ascertaining that fact that people should follow code-appropriate behaviors. Even today, when he was meeting with the Northeastern Chief Minister, he was very ascertainly saying that this is the only way that we have to come out of this COVID pandemic. So I appeal to all the government and all the public. Let us heed to that advices of these people. And at any point of time, let us not take it by chance and come out in open unnecessarily and not following the code-appropriate behavior. That is going to spoil us, not only us and our neighbors and our own children and our own family is going to be affected. So the only way at present for us to have the self-lockdown and not coming out without appropriate reason, and even if you all need to come out and wearing that appropriate mask, just wearing the mask for a patient is not going to be that many issues. An adequate protective mask has to be there, and with the advent of the Delta Plus variant, even just a fleet of contacts can reduce the transmissibility of the virus. So we need to be extremely cautious on this one. I am confident and we are hopeful. Honorable Prime Minister will take still further steps to ensure that this is the such mass gatherings are avoided in our country.
Absolutely. We must act responsibly on an individual level. Thank you, Dr. Jayalal, for speaking to us and taking out your time. And that's what the Prime Minister also emphasized on while he interacted with chief ministers of northeastern states, how we must make sure that we're increasing testing and we do put an end to vaccine hesitancy as well. Maximum vaccination is what we need to do to overcome the possible third wave.